Thursday, January 24th, 2019, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to talk about my channel, myself, a little bit about Billy. The last time I made a video where I talked about the channel's mission and myself was back in October of 2016. Back then, only had just over 3,000 subscribers. Now I'm up to almost 23,000. And sometimes people ask me, you know, what's your background? So I think it's good to refresh. It's one of the things about doing a video every day, sometimes two. You need to find topics, and sometimes the viewers help you with their comments, and you realize, wow, the last time I made a video about myself was, 2.5 years ago almost, and I only had 3,000 subscribers. I want to talk about the mission of my channel, which hasn't changed at all, and it was the title of my video back then. It will be the title of my video now, and it is "The Fight Against Central Banks and Fiat Money Must Go On." And as you can see, I haven't swerved or try to avoid that fight. I'm still at it because I think it's very important. If you fix that, you help everything else, in my opinion. Is the world going to be perfect? A utopia? I don't think so, but it will be better, in my opinion. Before I start today, of course, I'll go look at the markets. Some of you say, oh, you should try to maybe just do separate videos for the markets. But I think most people enjoy just having a brief overview of what the markets are doing in the morning in London. It's just gone past 8 a.m. London time, so 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got spot gold at 1280, so it's down 260. Still, they've managed to bring it down a little more. Beginning of the year, the range was more like 1285 to 1295. Now they've been able to bring it down to like just below 1280 to 1285. So that's where we are right now, unfortunately, but that doesn't matter. Silver, 1528, down 7 or 0.5%. So silver is weaker this morning. High's been 1540, and we're right near the lows. Stock markets, before I go and tell you where we are, just yesterday the stock markets opened very strong, and then they all went down, and by midday they were all in negative territory, especially the S&P and the NASDAQ, and then the Dow recovered into positive territory, and it looked very strange because the Dow was up and the S&P and NASDAQ composite were down most of the day, but they managed to in the last few minutes to get the or last hour or so to get the other markets into the green, so to speak, or black, whatever color you want to, from red. So that's what happened yesterday. So the Dow finished up 170, but S&P only finished up 5 points. Today, as I speak here, the Dow is down 30. Dow futures 24,549. S&P is down 3 points, 2635, and NASDAQ 100 futures unchanged, 6660. The pound is down here a little bit. It's down 0.25%. It rallied quite a bit yesterday. Went up to like 130, almost 131 overnight, but it's now 130.40. Some people seem to think that there's a chance that they'll be able to delay Brexit. There's a chance, some people think there might be another referendum, and the markets seem to like this. They seem to think that being closer to Europe or the EU is better for the pound. I personally think longer term, it doesn't really matter. The pound's going to go down because our country, the UK, has so much debt, not only public, but private and corporate. The only way to carry that debt is to keep making that debt worth less and less. And how do you do that? By getting, debasing the currency. So longer term, I still think that, the pound might rebound in the short and medium term, but it's sinking longer term. Euro one is a bit stronger since yesterday, but it's down from overnight about 10 pips. It's at 113.71. Dollar firmed up yesterday against the yen, I think almost to 110, but it's now 109.68. Dollar yuan 680. So dollar's up 0.17%. WTI crude is down 1/3% at 52.50. So also directionless crude trading in a range. The bond market. So this morning we've got the 10-year yield at 2.74. So that's down 1.4 basis points. So in spite of the rally in the stock market, or the Dow really yesterday, bond yields are still showing that investors are not that confident in the strength of the economy going forward. And the 1-year T-bill yield is still above the 5-year T-bill, 5-year T-note yield. So the curve is inverted from 1 to 5. I know it was inverted from 1 to 7 earlier this year, but now things have improved a little bit with the rally in the stock market. But an economy that's dependent on the how well the stock market is doing is not a healthy economy, in my opinion. So the mission of my channel, a bit about myself. And before I start, I like to say that my channel has been monetized, just a few months after I started. At the time, it took a while to be able to monetize. It was easier than it is now. And I started doing these videos November 2015. And there's a threshold to get paid. And I only reached that threshold. I think it took almost 5 months to get the first payment, which is only like $100. And of course, with my channel growing, I've started earning more and more from the monetization, but I've made a few mistakes. For example, I joined like a network that I thought would improve my views, and that was right in the beginning, and it tied me in for a year with this. I even forgot what it was called, but it's this media network group, and I had to pay them 30% of my revenues, and I didn't know that's what I was getting into. So for like a year there, I was losing a lot of my revenue, but you learn from your mistakes, and after that year, it was out, those people. But recently, from my last live stream, I got comments from a lot of my viewers that a lot of them were not seeing my adverts, and some were seeing it. So I contacted Google or YouTube. They couldn't really help that much, and then I started Googling, like how about monetization. The fact that some of my viewers are not seeing the adverts, and I realized that I hadn't, for some reason, set up the monetization page properly. And I thought I had. I've always been getting the little green icon that says it's monetized, but I had to do something extra that I didn't realize. So that's probably why some of you are now seeing more adverts, and some of you might not like that, but I'll try to keep the adverts to a minimum, but it's the only way, apart from donations and some people buying Monaco 64 merchandise. It's the only way that I can create an income from this. And so I hope people are all right with that. So you are going to see more adverts just because I fixed something that I was doing wrong. And some of you hadn't seen adverts because of that. So the fight against central banks and fiat money must go on. So yeah, that's being my purpose for this channel. Even when I worked in the city of London, which is the equivalent of Wall Street in the UK, I was writing in my private time at home. I started a blog called forsoundmoney.com, and I used to write articles for forsoundmoney.com, and I started that in 2007, even before just when the crisis was kicking off, because I've been at this, I've been learning about this since the beginning of the century, roughly, about gold, sound money, how fraudulent and unstable our current system is. But I didn't really reach too many people through that blog, writing articles, and I didn't have much time. And then when, how can I say, my job in the city, when I lost my job in the city, they closed down the desk at a futures and options brokerage firm that I worked. So me and my colleagues, lost our jobs. I decided, that was 2012, I decided to go into something different. I decided to invest some of my savings into a franchise, a pawnbroking franchise. And for 2.5 years, I started a business on the high street, like a shop, pawnbroking. And it did well for the first 18 months. I was breaking even. But I didn't realize there's so much costs like taxes, fees, everything. The better I was doing, the more tax I was paying, like VAT. I had to pay like almost 10,000 pounds just for business rates, which is a local tax to the council, and I had to do everything on my own. I couldn't afford to hire someone to help me, so I was working full-time, like from Monday to Saturday, like from 7 to 7, and it wasn't healthy, and I couldn't see the business improving. It wasn't a bad business, and I shut it down. I learned the hard way. No one bailed me out like the bankers were bailed out in '08. And I had to put it behind me, and after that I had to go through the process of liquidating the company that ran the business. I was lucky to get out of the leasing contract for the shop. I was lucky I didn't have debt to start the business, and after that I was approached, and I contacted, and I was approached by an old colleague from a firm that I used to work for in the city, and I interviewed with his firm, a small brokerage firm, and it looked like it was going to go ahead. And this was late 24, was it late 20? It was late 2015, I think. I forget now, but it took a while. He showed me a contract that wasn't signed yet. He said, "Oh yeah, definitely, our offices are being repaired. We're gonna hire you in a few months." And well, this was 2015 to 2016, and it never 2014 to 2015, sorry, and it never happened. And he never contacted me back, which was disappointing. So at the time, my daughter, she was, watched a lot of YouTube, and she said, and I realized that she was watching a lot of YouTube. So I started watching a bit more YouTube, and I came onto JSnip4. I enjoyed what he said, and at the time he had 28,000 subscribers, and he was talking about how he was earning a bit of money from the YouTube channel. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to start doing that, because maybe there's people have an interest in hearing what I have to say about economics, the monetary system, about the markets, and that's how it started. And I also, the other YouTuber that helped me, not directly, but just learning from what he said, was Stefan Molyneux. He made a video about how to run a YouTube channel, how you need to keep at it every day, and you have to make it like a mission, and that's what I've done. And since then, it's improved. In the beginning, I didn't really have a marketing or a kind of a mission, and that's Stefan Molyneux helped me with that, and that's why I always say at the beginning, Monaco64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Some people who have said, why do you keep saying that? Well, because not everyone is an existing viewer. That's the purpose of my channel. And a little bit about Billy. Well, Billy is going to be 11 in July this year. We got him in 2008, around I think it was right around September, you know, when everything was kicking off, Lehman Brothers collapse. And all the talk in the UK was about the credit crunch that we were having. And it was, you know, you had a Northern Rock collapse, you know, for the first time in many decades. People were queuing up or in the line outside a bank to try to get their money out. And I remember with my daughter, she was only about 11, we're walking in Bromley in London, and on a Saturday, on the weekend, we went out for a walk in town, and people were queuing up outside Northern Rock, and I showed it to her. Annie, this is historical. It's a bank run. So, yeah, things weren't great. So, before Billy, we had another Shih Tzu called Billy as well. Unfortunately, he passed away a few months before we got Billy. And so he's Billy the second. But his story is that I called the breeder and I asked, have you got any Shih Tzus left? And he said, yes, we have one left, a little boy. He has a name though, and I said, what's his name? And he said, well, Billy No Mates, because he was the last one left. And he couldn't sell him, so we actually got a good deal on Billy, kind of half price. So we always joke that he was the credit crunch puppy. I would have paid full price anyway for Billy though. So that's my channel. My background a little bit, very briefly, is I was born and grew up in Brazil. I finished university though in Switzerland. My parents had moved there. I got a job at a small private bank, which they called in Switzerland, in Geneva, a fiduciaire, like that's what they call, very small. My bosses were German. They were former bankers. And the focus in that firm was more bonds, fixed income, foreign exchange. And I worked there for 2.5 years, and then I got offered a job in London by someone I knew at another bond broking house. It was in a bank. And then from there, I got into futures and options, and I was a futures and options broker, mostly for institutional clients, so not private clients. So my clients were people like banks, mutual funds, hedge funds, fund managers, corporate treasuries. Those were my clients. Yeah, I did that until 2012. Yeah, you know, once I lost my job in 2012, as I said, I tried another business. It didn't work out, and I tried to get back into the city, and it's hard and harder the older you get, I think. And Yeah, did a lot of interviews. I sent a lot of CVs out, hundreds and hundreds online, and a lot of times interviews went well, but never a second one. So I decided to do this, and that's how I earn quite a bit of my income. And as I try to live by what I preach. And I could live off some of my savings, but I know that won't last forever, so you need to build an income. That's what I'm trying to do here with this channel, wake the general public up. This is not a channel for my old clients, but I talk pretty much how I used to talk to my old clients. So you're getting like a professional's, so to speak, view of the markets, the monetary system, and economics. And at the same time, I'm trying to inform people of how the central banking and fiat money system are unsustainable and fraudulent and unstable, and that it will eventually go. Of course, I can't tell you exactly when. It will go, for sure. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the little bell to get notified of new videos. You can also follow me on Steemit, DTube, and on Twitter. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.